Good evening. Good evening. I'm going to give it a few minutes, a few seconds for people to start jumping on. It's a cold and icy evening tonight outside, so I'm assuming people are going to be indoors. You know, when it's cold and icy outside and you've just been out and you come in and you're all red. That's me. And I've got some funky lighting going on tonight. I left my ring light down at the house when I did my live in my group earlier on today. So I'm down to one little ring light here. And if I do that, it's not very good. So I've got the lighting down there. So I'm just going to leave it down there because it doesn't make me look weird and like some sort of alien. So we'll try and keep it semi-normal. It's a bit dark without the light. So anyway, how are you this evening? How's the weather where you are? Let me know. Hashtag and let me know what the weather's like. Hiya, Marina. Let me know where you're watching from, what you've been doing today, what the weather's like. Is it frosty like it is in Scotland? I love that first frost. I've been walking the dogs and coming back with my nose so cold I can hardly feel it. I love that first frost. It really invigorates and makes you feel alive, doesn't it? So anywho, Mandy, let's get on with it, shall we? So for those of you that don't know me, I am Mandy Nicholson with Weird Lighting, and I am the creative genius consultant, artist, and author, and I help creative women to launch, grow, and scale their businesses and make more money. And tonight I've popped on and I want to talk to you about change because I am in the midst of more massive change. I have lived in massive change for many, many years now. And I think change is one of those things that really terrifies a lot of people. As human beings, we like our creature comforts, our routines, our habits. And I find this quite a lot in the women that I work with and some of the circles that I am in, that there is a real resistance to changing what we do, even when changing it can be beneficial for us, both financially, in our businesses, and in our lives. And we prefer to stay with what feels comfortable. I like to stick with what I know. I've heard this so many times. I like to stick with what I know. At least I know what I'm doing when I'm doing this. So change is really difficult. And as a leader in retail for many, many decades, this was one of the things that I dealt with on a weekly, daily, monthly basis with my teams, was that change was inevitable. Change is going to happen no matter what you do. You can't avoid it. You can't plan for it. It's going to happen. You are going to change physically. You are going to change mentally and emotionally. Your world is going to change because by nature, Mother Nature is going to introduce change every single day, both throughout the year, seasonally, over decades. Rocks and cliffs erode, things change in a big way. We can't avoid it. Yet still, as human beings, we resist change. But there are two camps to this as well. It's not just about change as one big process. And change is a process, no matter how we want to change things. But there's also a couple of camps because people deal with change differently. You've got the people who are so set in their ways. I'm sure you all know people like this. Older people, maybe in their 80s. We didn't do this like this in our day. And they are really, really resistant to change. They have found something that works for them. They potentially have been doing it for decades. And they are absolutely immovable on doing anything in a different way. This means that they are limiting their experiences in life because they are resistant to change. And I think it was a generational survival thing for, the generation from before us or the one before them that came through the wars, that survived. They had to go through massive periods of enforced change. Therefore, they found comfort in the routine and the mundane and the knowledge of that it was going to be the same today, tomorrow, the next day, the next week, and the next year. In business, however, you have to be prepared to change. Even when you feel you've hit a threshold, you've started to make money, you've started to see that income coming in. But actually, you've still got to be prepared to change things, and that can be quite scary. So that's why I want to talk to you about it tonight. Many people have some level of success in their business. So maybe you hit the 10 grand a month mark. You started to make 10 grand a month. You've been working towards that for years, and eventually you get there. And you want to stay there because you're in your comfort zone. But actually, there is room. If you can do 10, you can do £100,000 a month. But in order to do that, you've got to keep moving forward in a big way, challenging everything that you do and making changes, looking at systems, looking at procedures and making changes. And that can feel really uncomfortable. This is why a lot of businesses fail, because they plateau. They get to a certain level, they stick with what they know instead of saying, right, what next? So you've got to decide how you are going to approach your business. So when I said there's two camps to change, there's more than two, but in reality, as humans, we're usually either introverted or extroverted, or some of us are a bit of both, who enjoy being the introvert and also can be the extrovert. But in general, introverted people will prefer slow and sustainable change, something that they can approach a bit at a time. Extroverted people, which a lot of entrepreneurs are, they look like that on the surface, but many of the extroverts, or the people that you think are extroverts, can actually be quite introverted. But extroverts, as they are described, and if they are that in behavior, and truly extroverts, like fast-paced, risk-taking change, and often don't think about the consequences. So if you sit somewhere in the middle, you're the introverted extrovert or the extroverted introvert, then actually you could have the best approach to change, because change happens when you have sustainable processes that you can do habitually over a period of time. But also change needs to be big and challenging and sometimes a risk to your business in order for it to grow in a big way. Many of the really successful multi-million, multi-billion pound businesses are constantly in a state of flux and change, constantly looking for the next level, constantly seeking out the next thing that can bring more income in to sustain the platforms that they have, which is about paying wages, sustaining jobs, and sustaining growth for the economy and for the future. Now, I don't care whether you are that multi-billion pound company or you are selling MLM products. Hi, Kirsty. Whether you are selling a product or service at a small level or what you consider to be a smaller level at the moment, you are impacting on our economy in the same positive way and creating change and sustainable change in the same way that the multi-billion pound companies are. Because if there are 1 million small companies doing £2,000 a month, it doesn't matter. That's still really good growth and sustainable change. So how do you, if change is something that you are resistant to and you don't like changing the status quo, how do you then embrace change? So I want to reframe change, this word change, and say that it brings magic. Change is magic. It's the magical way of doing things differently in order to have a better life or a better business. So for the last couple of years, if you think about, I'm going to take, where are we now? We're coming up to the end of 2021. So let's look at 2019 for me. In 2019, I reached my financial goals and I was able to purchase my dream home for cash in October 2019. It was a massive milestone for me. It brought about big change. We were moving from this temporary rented property into a massive 4-bedroom house with lots of space and a big garden. I was buying that for cash. I was becoming a homeowner again instead of renting property while we waited for the perfect house. Massive change, but positive change. And I launched my business on Boxing Day 2019. Really exciting. We were living in this new home. I was launching my business. I knew it would take time to grow my business. And I went into 2020, into the new year, with lots of new clients in my business, a really positive start to the new year. It was growing and it was positive change, really enjoying it. And then my husband died in April 2020. He got a matter of 7 months in our dream home. That's all we had together in our dream home. And he died. That level of change can rock your world. So how do we embrace change? And this is where it doesn't matter. I don't ever want you to compare the change that you're facing with something like I've just described, my husband dying during COVID in a time where we were all locked down. It was devastating. It was difficult to deal with. I was resistant. I actually had a physical reaction to that loss in that I had a massive arthritis flare up. So I was then facing change in my body. I'd had a change from the euphoric period of time that we've had in our dream home, living together as a family unit, really happy, launching my business, to then losing my husband and experiencing this physical reaction to that grief and loss of a massive arthritis flare up to the point where I couldn't walk without a walking stick. So I was having enforced change, physical change that I was experiencing as a reaction. So change is around us all the time. How do we embrace that type of change? The uncomfortable, the unpleasant, the difficult. And it was really difficult to do, but I accepted that there was nothing that I could do about the loss of I couldn't change it. I couldn't change it. My world was different after the death of my husband, physically and emotionally, very, very different. So I had to find a way to keep moving through that period, to accept that I was going to be a slightly different person, to lean into that period of change and learn to accept and adapt to the emotional feelings, to the physical surrounding, to the physical reaction of my body to that level of change. And that's how we as human beings deal with any change, and change can be anything. Again, please don't compare whatever change you're facing to what I've just described, because it was massive for me. And one of the things that happened with me was leaning into that change, accepting that I was going to be on my own, accepting that, death can come at any time. It might sound really morbid, but death can come at any time. And that I was going to go and follow my dreams because life was too short and I didn't know how long I had left. That enabled me to create massive change, selling my house, moving to Scotland, and buying my mini castle, renovating my mini castle. So I'm still in that period of change, but it's change that I have brought upon myself. So starting to deal with the process of change is accepting that it's inevitable. There's the first thing. It's inevitable. We're all going to face it on a daily and weekly, monthly, annual basis. We never know what's going to happen. So acceptance is step one, accepting that things are going to change, that you can't stay the same. None of us can stay the same if we want to move into a better, more positive situation in our lives. If you are in an unhappy marriage that you are not getting anything out of, some people take years to make the decision to leave that unhappy marriage because the change is more frightening than staying the same. Accepting that change is difficult is step one, really. And then making plans how you're going to deal with that. So if you're in an unhappy marriage and you know you can't stay there any longer, and you know that you want to leave, but making the decision is hard because you're running through it in your head, and it's better the devil you know, and at least he doesn't do this, or at least it's not this. You will make yourself a load of excuses that convince you to stay exactly where you are, instead of looking at the situation and making a list of pros and cons. What happens if I leave this unhappy marriage? What happens if I stay? What's going to be different in a year's time if I leave? What's going to be different in a year's time if I stay? What's going to be different in 5 years, 10 years? This same process works with everything. So if you are facing having to create, let's take it back to business, shall we? Having to create a website and you're scared of tech. What happens if I don't create the website versus what happens if I do? What do I need to know in order for me to be able to do the work? Who have I got around me that can help me? How can I engage that help from these people? What methods can I choose? So change is inevitable. And when you feel resistance to something, the best way to deal with it is, first of all, what's the best way of changing for you? Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Do you like slow, gradual change, or are you happy to take on a challenge and a risk? Whichever one you are, sit and think about the process. Yeah. What do I need to know? Who have I got around me? How can I engage that help so that I can actually do this thing that I am feeling resistance to right now? What is the benefit of me changing? How will I benefit, or how will my business benefit from me making this change now in my business or in my life? And this works for anything. We will still resist it. We will still talk ourselves out of changing, no matter how much work we do on it. If ultimately at our core, let's look at smokers for an example. Yeah. A smoker will give you 100 reasons why they cannot quit smoking. You've got to be in the right mindset. It's got to be the right time. I've got too much stress going on in my life. There's a million reasons to not give up, but the reasons to give up outnumber the reasons to not. It's the same in business. Okay, I've hit this sales target that I had set, and now I need to do something different in order to get to the next level. However, I'm comfortable where I am. If I don't do anything, I should still be able to sustain that level of sales, but my business won't grow. Things will become more expensive. Things will change around me. So if I stay the same, I won't be able to keep up. So there are always these questions that you need to ask yourself when you are faced with not necessarily the change, but the resistance to actually making the change in order to move forward. Now, this can manifest in so many different ways. You may know that you need help to move your business forward, yet you may be resistant to paying someone to help you to do that, to get you there quicker, because you can't actually figure it out in your mind that spending money now could actually gain you money down the line. So many things are going to come up now. We're going out of an old year. We're heading like really fast towards the end of November and going into December, which means that we've got a month before we head into a brand new year. And a brand new year means the opportunity for change, the opportunity to grow your life and your business to exponential levels. Why not? Why not you? So I want you to sit down with a piece of paper, and I want you to write down what in your life and in your business right now you are resistant to changing. What is coming up for you when you start to think about change in your business and in your life? Where is your business now? Where would you like it to be? What do you need to do to get it to where you would like it to be? Okay, and what do you feel resistance to when you start to ask yourselves those questions? Whatever you feel resistance to is just you being resistant to changing what you're doing. So that's where you need to start. It's the same in your life. You know, I'm going to hold my hands up here. I need to lose some weight. I like my food. I'm 57. I am resistant to changing in a big way what I do. And I know what I need to do to lose weight and get fitter. And I know it's going to mean a big change. And I'm resistant to that because I've got a lot of other things going on in my life. Look, there's the first excuse. I've got loads of other things going on in my life. First excuse. I bet if I stayed on this live, I could come up with at least 20 reasons to not do it. But in actual fact, if I sat down with the bit of paper and asked myself those questions, what's coming up for me? Why are you resistant? What is it that's holding you in that place that's stopping you from making the change, Mandy? Yeah, I could come up with 40 reasons to actually take action. So I want you to end up with a bigger list of reasons to take action than the list of resistant reasons to not take action. And that's a great place to start for setting your goals for 2022, for your business and for your life. I've already done this exercise. That's why I'm using myself as an example. I've done this exercise and I've done my goals for 2022 and I'm ready to start preparing my vision board. And I've covered all areas of my life, including health and well-being. So I am ready to go into the new year facing everything. And I've negated all of my excuses and all of my reasons for not doing things. So there is no reason for me to change all of the things in 2022 when you look at what change I've experienced in the last 2 years. So I think anything is possible. When I filmed from the house this morning, one of the messages was anything is possible. So I want a reminder tonight as well that if you are really ready to face this, to really go into 2022 with a big plan and really thrash them goals and get some mind maps done and set some goals in, really solid goals for next year, I will be running my vision board and goal setting workshop next Tuesday. There's a link for that in the comments, and I've got links throughout all of my pages today. I've never run this outside of my program before. I'm running it and opening it up to the public next Tuesday. It's from 11 till 2 during the day. So if you're at home with kiddies, you can still do it because you can leave the Zoom open and you can be popping in and out. It's not formal. It's an informal training to help you over that three-hour period to really nail down your vision board and the supporting action plan that's going to help you reach your big goals. Now, remember, there's been a castle on mine for 2 years, and I'm on that journey right now. I create really meaningful vision boards that actually deliver. I have done for years. So if you want to be part of that, click the link, get your place booked. I would love to see you there. So if you are struggling with change, please let me know. Contact me if you need any help or advice. I hope that's just given you a little prod tonight to start thinking about how you can be more open as you head into 2022 to the change that you are inevitably going to experience, but also the change that you can instigate and create in your business and your life. So I've got something really exciting before you go. If you watch right to the end, great, you'll know about it. If not, you'll see it advertised this week. Next Tuesday night, 7 p.m, I will be here and I'll be talking about how to attract things that you need towards you. But I'm going to do it through interviewing an amazing client of mine who joined me on the September cohort, who is launching her brand new book this weekend. And we're going to be talking to her couple of days post-launch. Next Tuesday night, I'll be interviewing Rebecca Dinsdale, and she is going to blow your socks off next Tuesday night. It will be an interview not to be missed. So I'm really excited about that. Have an amazing week, guys. I will see you same time, same place next week. And I will remember, in fact, I won't. Same time, same place next week. It will be my last week in the flat because guess what? Last bit of news. My carpets are being fitted next Wednesday. I am moving into the house next Thursday. Big change coming for me next week. Really exciting. So next Tuesday night's live will be the last one in the flat. After that, everything will be from the house. I'm looking forward to that. So I will see you next week. Have an amazing week and really relax into whatever happens, because change is good. Enjoy it.